In today's video, we're going to talk about how Michael Jackson came to own the Beatles catalog, what he paid for it, and why this story matters for your music career. Hi guys, I'm Miss Krystle. I'm an entertainment attorney and public speaker. I'm the founder of Dukes Up Records, and most importantly, I'm an independent musician. Now, before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss our weekly videos and full-length playlists on this channel, having everything to do with music marketing, music business contracts, copyright, trademarks, and everything in between to get you to that next level with your music career. And if you're super passionate about your music career, be sure to check out How to Keep Your Dukes Up in the Music Business. This book includes 8 contracts as well as music business templates that if you were to go to a law office, it would cost you over $5,000, but they're included as part of this book. And we're talking about things like management agreements, artists, writers, graphic designer, assignment agreements. So it's everything that you really need as part of your career to protect yourself. So be sure to check that out. Early on in their career, John Lennon and Paul McCartney of the Beatles made the decision to sign their music with a company that could help, and that company was Northern Songs. So Northern Songs owned the publishing to their music. Now we'll get into what publishing means and how it all works, but just so you guys understand, when someone owns the publishing, that means they have the right to collect the earnings from that music. And this is not only the traditional way that deals were done back in the day, but it's still how things work today. When you sign your music to a record label or publishing company, you're signing over the ownership and the right to collect on the money that will be received from your music. And then Northern Songs sold its catalog to a company called ATV, which was a British television broadcasting company. And so now ATV owned the Beatles catalog. During your guys' careers and in deals like this, your record label deals, your publishing deals, you'll see that there'll be a section in your contract that says assignment rights. This is how it happens. So if Northern Songs owns the music, but they have the right to assign it to a new company that's gonna, pay a pretty penny for that catalog, you as the songwriter already gave away those rights, so you can't control where that music goes. This is why this story is going to be so important for your music careers. Remember, assignment clause allow the company to reassign and sell your music. So when you guys look at your contract, keep an eye out for assignment clauses or anything that says assignment in it. Besides wanting to know what happens with your music and who ultimately will end up owning it, McCartney in an interview said that him and Lennon specifically did not want their music to be used for certain things. For example, they were getting approached by big soda companies that wanted to use their songs in their commercials, but unequivocally, Lennon and McCartney didn't want that to happen. But what ended up happening was unfortunately just that. And that's because there was an assignment right that was in their original agreement that they signed. Now, what most people don't know is that McCartney and Michael Jackson were actually very good friends. And they not only recorded and released different collaborations together, but specifically worked on The Girl Is Mine, which Michael Jackson released on his Thriller album. McCartney was actually the one who ended up telling Michael Jackson about how lucrative it can be if you own publishing, not only just to your music, but to other people's music. And so this is what kind of inspired Jackson to start purchasing songs that he just loved, songs from the 50s and the 60s. And McCartney is noted as saying that Jackson specifically said to him, "I'm gonna own your catalog one day." Now, at the time, McCartney thought he was joking, but that turned out not to be a joke whatsoever. And to McCartney's point, whoever owns the music is going to be making money every time that music is played in a TV show, on the radio, even in live performances. So it becomes an incredibly lucrative way of making money for companies and musicians, for those who actually retain their rights. So as Michael Jackson is adding to his catalog of publishing works that he's collecting revenue from, his attorney gets word that ATV is selling. And as part of the sale by the Australian billionaire, the ATV catalog of 4,000 songs included 250 of Beatles classics. Jackson's attorney initially reached out to John Lennon's widow, Yoko Ono, as well as McCartney, and at the time said, look, the catalog is for sale. If you want first dibs on it, you can basically have at it. And so McCartney is reported as having a conversation with Yoko Ono, and essentially both of them just came to the decision that it was just too much money to pay. And particularly with McCartney, he's noted as just saying, look, I mean, I wrote these songs for free. It just seemed very odd, and I just wasn't willing to pay that much money to purchase back my music. So they both passed. At this point, Jackson starts kind of a bidding war, and his opening bid was $30 million for the ATV catalog. Now, Jackson wasn't the only one bidding. And what happens is that when you're going to purchase a company, its catalog, anything else having to do with the company, you have to go through what's called due diligence steps. And so you're looking at financials, you're signing contracts. And so over the course of the following 4 to 5 months, they were going through this due diligence process. And through that, new people were coming in and offering new bids, increasing the overall cost to purchase and acquire the ATV catalog. While it appeared that Jackson and his team had finalized the deal, it was a handshake deal based on a $45 million purchase. Now, that deal once again fell through because all of a sudden, last minute, a new bidder popped in. And Jackson is noted as just saying, look, you can't put a price on this. Despite the fact that his lawyers, his advisors were all telling him, do not pay this amount of money for this particular acquisition, he said, you can't put a price on the world's greatest songs. So ultimately, he ended up paying $47.5 million for the acquisition of ATV, which included some additional throw-ins. He needed to go and do a performance for a charitable event, but he did what he had to do to seal the deal. And for those of you doing your own deals, this is what happens. There will be so many points along the process as we're negotiating and trying to get things memorialized and finalized in a contract, and something will happen at the 11th hour. And even with something like this, where we're talking about over $40 million, over $45 million, there will be last minute snags. And there is, even with this particular deal for Jackson, there was one song that the Australian billionaire wanted to make sure was given to his daughter. So even in these cases, sometimes you have to make last minute changes just to push the deal through. Now, unfortunately for the friendship between Jackson and McCartney, McCartney wasn't aware that Jackson did this. Now, did Jackson have a right? Well, you can argue, of course, it was up for sale, so why shouldn't he be able to acquire the catalog? But nonetheless, when McCartney did find out about this, he's noted as reaching out to Jackson and saying, hey, maybe I can purchase it back at a reasonable cost. And unfortunately, Jackson simply didn't respond. And when it did come up in interviews and that kind of thing, Jackson was just kind of noted as saying, whose business? Jackson then decided to sell the ATV catalog to Sony Music for a whopping $95 million, and he became a 50-50 owner, which was now Sony ATV. And after Jackson's passing, his estate made the decision to sell Jackson's 50% to Sony Music Publishing for a whopping $750 million. Since then, McCartney's taken steps to reclaim his music, including filing a lawsuit against Sony, which was then later settled in 2017. Now, McCartney is estimated around $1.2 billion in everything that he has done in his lifetime, but the reason why I think it's so important to cover this story and to just make sure that you guys keep it in mind with your music careers is because this happens every single day. And unfortunately, some musicians never get that chance to bounce back because the songs that they signed, that they gave the rights to for their record label, for their publishing companies, those ended up being the most successful songs that the artist ever had. But unfortunately, now those songs are owned by a different company altogether. And then you also saw just kind of the evolution of the ownership of the Beatles catalog, going from company to company, because just in that original contract that Lennon and McCartney had signed, they had simply said that there was an assignment ability. So it goes back to the importance of making sure that every contract that you guys sign, it doesn't matter that you're at the beginning of your career, that you think that, this company or this record label is bringing something of value for you. It doesn't matter what you think you're getting, just understand what it is that you're giving up. You are giving up the ownership, the rights to your music, potentially forever. Because maybe you will have an opportunity to purchase it back at $20 million. Are you gonna pay that for your music? Just remember that this is your legacy. and you only have one opportunity to write the songs that you care about, to share it, and don't be so quick to give away the rights to things that you care so passionately about. And that's really the moral of the story, at least for me. So now I want to hear from you guys. Leave a comment down below on just kind of what you thought about this story, but then also tell me, what was the first Beatles song that you heard and where did you hear it? Because I can say from personal experience, one of the first songs that I ever heard was actually in a feature film. And I wonder, had Lennon and McCartney still owned the rights and had the opportunity to have input about where their music was placed, would that song have appeared in that particular film? Speaking of music, make sure you follow me on Spotify and Apple Music. I mean, I'm on all music platforms, and it's been very cool to connect with you guys. For those of you who kind of enjoy and follow with what I do musically, but also that we are learning and growing together in this crazy thing called trying to have a music career. Be sure to come say hi on social media. I'm definitely the most active on Instagram, and it's been very cool to meet you guys. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss another video from your new favorite redhead. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Miss Krystle. Bye.